Welcome back to Diligent Canine on Patreon. And something else I wanted to do a quick video on was reward intervals. And I think there is a Tar Heel Canine Jerry Bradshaw Controlled Aggression podcast episode on interval rewards, variable rewards, and reward ratios. And I'll try to find the podcast and link it in the show notes. So what I mean by that is, just like what it sounds, the frequency that you reward your dog. So when you're initially training your dog, you will have a fixed reward ratio, meaning the ratio of correct behaviors to rewards is the same and it doesn't change. So you will have a 1-to-1 ratio. Dog does the behavior, dog gets one reward. Okay. And you'll probably continue that for a while until you've got pretty good success. That term is relative. Whatever you think is successful to you, maybe it's 70%. I might ask my dog for 90% compliance. What's important though is to recognize when you sort of overstep the process and you see things start to fall apart, to not be discouraged or afraid to back things up again and sort of really break down your dog's training to the minutiae, to the sort of incremental stages of the behaviors you want them to perform. So after you move on from a fixed ratio of 1-to-1, you might increase that ratio where the dog doesn't sit every time, but the dog sits every time, but it only gets a reward every other time. Okay, and that would be a reward ratio of two behaviors to one reward. So you can keep doing that for a while, but you need to be really careful there so that the dog doesn't start stopping the behavior. That was complicated. I wish I could have said it better. But the idea is you want the dog to always remember that doing the behavior will get it a reward. So before the behavior starts to die out, you need to switch to a variable reward system. So what that means is it's like a slot machine. You put a quarter into the slot machine and you don't win, but there's a probability of you winning if you play long enough. However, that is not a fixed ratio. It's not every 100th spin on the slot machine wins the jackpot. It might be 100 spins later, then 500 spins later, then 10 spins later, then you get the idea. And that's the principle behind a variable reward system for your dog. You sort of keep them guessing, and that actually builds a lot of anticipation. It keeps the dog really engaged. So you might have the dog sit and he gets rewarded after every sit, then every other sit, and then every sit, then every third sit, then on the fifth sit. So it doesn't really make sense with a single behavior like that, but it works for a little longer behaviors. When I think of like healing, I taught my dog Dean to heel this way. So initially he got rewarded just for coming into the position and would get rewarded. I would just be pumping him treats like every step of the way. And then we weaned it off to like every other step, every third step. And then I would change it as we went along. So you get a reward right when you came to me, you're free. You come to me again, we take 2 steps, reward, and you're free. Then you come to me, you get a reward again, you're free. But then we got to take 5 steps before you get rewarded and you're free. So I hope that helps kind of explain some things as far as like reward intervals and how to develop really strong motivation in your dog to work for those rewards. And in summary, you do that by progressing from a fixed interval reward system to a variable reward system.